Hello, welcome to the Analyst at the Ashes for the last time with me, Simon Hughes.
And I'm Simon Mann.
It's a glorious afternoon here in Sydney. A splendid time for the families of both teams to mingle with the players after that epic final match here in Sydney. It went really quite late into the fifth day, but of course Australia ending up winners, so they take the series 4-1, and lots of elation going on. And I suppose emotion as well, with it being Usman Khawaja's final test match, and quite an emotional farewell he paid. He even knelt down and kissed the turf, didn't he, at the end as he walked off his last dismissal. So lots of mingling emotions, I suppose, mixed emotions at the end of the day. But the final equation is England have been seriously outplayed, haven't they? And Stokes in the press conference afterwards looked exhausted, frustrated, disappointed, and a little realistic, but in the end quite forlorn.
Yeah, England have been hammered, haven't they? They've been hammered. They've been beaten 4-1. Australia been too good for them. England have made far too many mistakes over the course of the series and before the series as well. And we're going to discuss that, aren't we, in the next half an hour or so, and have a look back at some of the key moments in the series and what the future holds. And also we'll look back on this game as well and look back on today's cricket. It's actually a good day's cricket, wasn't it? What we saw, it finished mid-afternoon on the fifth day. A really good pitch, I thought.
Yeah.
And imagine having a couple of top-class spinners bowling today on that service.
One of those sort of ironies, wasn't it, that England were bowling to try and force a victory with Will Jacks and Jacob Bethell as their two spinners.
And Joe Root had a bit of a go as well.
And a bit of Joe Root at the end. I mean, I saw Jacob Bethell, practicing his bowling this morning actually before play and or before England went out to field, and I just thought, oh God, what a trick they've missed. But that's a result of planning of 2 years of planning, really, that has caused them to come to that. So the raw material of the day, England managed to in the end set Australia 160 to win. The last couple of wickets did actually put on a few runs. I thought quite a brave little innings by Matt Potts after his disappointing bowling, 0 for 142. I mean, what an ignominious way to walk off the field, and he didn't get a chance in the second innings. So poor guy will not remember this SCG test with much happiness. But Jacob Bethell was the guy that I suppose England were hoping could get them up to, say, a 200 lead. And he, in the end, perished. There was some good bowling by Australia, and he perished caught behind off Stark, who bowled actually as well as he bowled with the second new ball today. In the fifth test, he's played every game. He's led the attack every time, and he's still bowling those absolutely wicked outswingers to the left-handers at 88 miles an hour and taking the edge and finished the series with a couple of wickets.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. So he was the player of the series, then quite right. I mean, wickets and also vital runs as well over in the series. So he finished with 31 wickets at 19, and he just kept going. Good pace throughout, and also as well, 23 of his wickets were top 7 batters. So he did the damage first up, and he was able to come back and pick up wickets as well. So he was excellent. Fabulous innings from Jacob Bethell. As I was watching Australia's innings unfold today, I was thinking, goodness me, what England would have given for 100 runs more to set them. I think if they'd set them 100 runs more, I think they might have won the game, because the pitch was quite tricky towards the end, and of course as well as they'd had a mainline spinner or two, but most sides don't have two mainline spinners these days, apart from in India. Then I think they could have caused them some severe problems. I mean, the ball that Will Jacks bowled Steve Smith was absolute jaffa, wasn't it? It reminded me of Michael Vaughan's delivery to get rid of Sachin Tendulkar at Trent Bridge. Through the gate. It was a fine ball. There was some spin out there. It was spinning and bouncing and short leg and leg slip. Those sort of fielders were in play, but England did not have enough runs to play with, especially after Head and Weatherall got Australia going.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point. And let's just hear from Ben Stokes actually, because he spoke, as I said, after the match, and he did look a little bit exhausted, to say the least. But he did point out that where did England lose this match? Well, they didn't get enough runs in the first innings, probably 100 short, and they probably gave Australia slightly too many in their first innings. So let's just hear how Stokes assessed it.
Where we are at the moment is in an interesting place for us as a team. What we managed to achieve in the first two and a half years, was very good. and then we wanted to build on that. We wanted to grow as a team and be even more consistent than we were in that. And if anything, we've done the opposite of that. We've started losing more. We've not won the big series that we want to be winning. And when a trend is happening on a consistent basis in the way that you don't want it to happen, then that's when you do need to go back and go look at the drawing board and make some adjustments that you think is going to get us back on the path of success again. I think as well that we are now playing against teams who have answers to the style of cricket that we have been playing over quite a long period of time now. I think in the first couple of years it was teams found it difficult to try and come up with anything to combat the way that we played, but now teams are, I think, coming up with plans that is actually standing up to a certain style of cricket that we want to play. And you've seen in moments throughout the series that when we've been positive and we have taken a few risks, it has paid off in our favour. But there's moments in games throughout the series and even before that where we've almost gifted the flow of the game back to the opposition by a decision that we think is the right one to take out there. And when you come up against a team like Australia out here who know how to play cricket out here, like the same way they do the backhand, and you're also adding to your own downfall, then you're going to end up losing the series 4-1 like we have done.
It's very easy after a game of cricket, isn't it, to go back and look at the ifs and buts. But I think one of the sort of lessons of the series is England have made so many fundamental mistakes, just kind of like straightforward mistakes, that it's easy to say, well, look, if they'd just done that a bit better and that a bit better, they would have been in so much of a better position. You think of this game, Will Jacks dropping Travis Head on the boundary. England's fielding was poor. They dropped close on 20 catches. Jacks dropping Head on the boundary. He was on 120, made 163. There's 40 odd runs plus the partnership runs as well. You think of Jamie Smith's shot. I mean, he was in, it was a sketchy innings, he had 46, he was in, there was a possibility there to really continue that partnership. There may have been another 30 or 40 runs. And that, so and then Will Jacks' shot, and then the run out of Jamie Smith, that mix up in the second innings, those sort of things happen. But, you could just point to just those scenarios where you think, hold on a second, there's almost 100 runs there, quite comfortably, if you've played it, if you've not made those sort of real basic cricket errors, which I thought England made too often throughout the series.
Yeah, in fact, if you go back to the key moments of the first three tests, well, especially the first two tests, where England did have opportunities to win, and we'll hear from Ricky Ponting actually in a minute, who points out those kind of areas, looking ahead as well, Ponting does. But if you look at the first test in Perth, well, we've said this several times, England were 100 runs ahead with only one wicket down in their second innings, and they capitulated and in the end set Australia a nominal target of just 200 when it could have been 300, and obviously Travis Head knocked it off. Interestingly, there's a great stat that Travis Head, now that Jacob Bethel was dismissed for 154, I think it was, yeah. So Head was the highest scorer in 4 of the 5 tests, with the highest individual score. Yeah. And the only person who's done that, you know that, don't you?
So Don Bradman.
The only person who's done that in the past is Don Bradman, so he's in good company there. So it just shows the impact that Head had. So that was the first test at Perth, and then as you hear them winding in the boundary rope, is that squeaking noise you can hear behind us, apologies for that. In the second test at Brisbane, there was a key moment there. Well, firstly, England didn't get enough runs in their first innings. They should have got 400 and they didn't. They got sort of 334 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And also the other thing is I think that this is telling, and it's a theme during the series, is they thought they had a good score. They thought 334 was a good score. And when I heard that, I thought, no. And that's where you need to be ruthless here. Yeah. Don't be satisfied with 334. It's got to be 400, 420. So that's the sort of score that potentially would have helped you win the Gabba Test match, because they dropped all those catches as well.
And in fact, 210 for 4, with Root and Stokes going well, and then there was this brilliant run out by Inglis, who pounced on a little kind of misunderstanding between Stokes and Root, ran out Stokes for 19, and after that England lost a lot of wickets, so they were 264 for 9 from 210 for 4, so 54 for for 5 basically. 54 for 5 in the middle of the innings or towards the end of the innings, and then just Archer managing to slog a quick 30 got England up to parity, but they should have got more. They should have got a lot more, and then when I say parity, I mean it got England up to a sort of respectable score, but then Australia got 500, and their last couple of wickets put on 95. So you can see the sort of turning points there. And it was fielding as much as anything with the Australians in that second test, as well as bowling to a plan with pressure applied from both ends that ground England down and managed to get them all out for 330, and then Australia piling on those runs. So actually it's quite interesting to at this point maybe to hear from Ricky Ponting, who doesn't speak often on podcasts. It's quite difficult to get him actually, partly because of his broadcast restrictions, but he kindly agreed to speak to us today. And I asked him two questions really. One was, where were the turning points in the series, but also, would he stick with the England top order now, with Crawley and Duckett? So Crawley in the series averaged 27 and Duckett averaged only 20, and their average partnership was 19.1 over the 5 tests. Nothing like what they'd been achieving before. So interesting to hear what Ponting thought about their futures. So would you keep either Crawley or Duckett, or both, or neither?
I think I'd keep both, to be honest. I mean, Crawley has shown glimpses of being able to play here in Australia this series. Duckett, for me, has been a real disappointment, though, but I see what his overall record is in the test matches that he's played leading into this. I don't know the depth of English county cricket as well as you do, but I think they've come this far with them. I think I would stick with them. There are a few other changes I'd make, though. I don't think Jamie Smith would be in my test team going forward. I think I'd keep the two openers.
Because
just doesn't give enough. I don't think he's been anywhere near smart enough. I don't think he gives enough behind the stumps.
Not that energy, buzz, sort of.
Yeah, which is what you need out here.
Skill.
When you're away from home, you need that in Australia. You need someone out there doing it. Ben can't do it all by himself, and the great teams that I played in, fielding was such an important part of it, and the keeper normally led the way.
And going forwards, obviously not till another 4 years, but what could England bring to Australia next time to have more chance compared to this time?
I mean, there's been so much spoken about the preparation leading into the first couple of test matches. I think as the series gone on, we've seen England play better. I think they've learnt what they've needed to do to play better test cricket in Australia. So preparation would be one thing. But I think they've just got to bring some more smarts, though. I just don't think they played smart enough in the first couple of games. They had opportunities to win the first couple of games and weren't good enough to take them. So we talk about it all the time out here. Certain venues in Australia, you have to play by the rules. You have to play with what the venue says you need to do to have success. And I don't think England did that well enough, certainly in Perth, and then that sort of flowed over into Brisbane.
Okay, was that the first question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I followed up with
Jamie Smith.
Then he talked about. Well, then he talks about. I'll just stop it actually, just so I know where. Don't move. I'll just stop it and start it again. So just picking up on punter Ponting's views there, it's interesting that he wants to stick with Crawley and Duckett. There's a lot of noise in the press at the moment saying Crawley's had it. He's had 64 tests, he's still averaging only 31. Time to give somebody else another go. Certainly opportunities for players in the early season in England to show their mettle as opening batters with the series against New Zealand starting in June. He seemed a little bit more confident about Duckett recovering his form. But also the point he made about Jamie Smith was interesting, and I think that was one of the kind of key differences between the teams, was that out cricket. I mean, you've already mentioned about the drop catches, but that buzz that is created by excellent fielders, but principally about the keeper, from the keeper who's the conductor of that orchestra kind of roaming around the field. And Carey, lots of energy, very athletic, confident, experienced, had a great series. Jamie Smith just doesn't offer, as Ricky Ponting said, doesn't offer all that much as keeper. He's quite a quiet, sort of almost
diffident.
Slightly diffident. Almost a bit invisible as a keeper. And they used to say, it's good having an invisible keeper. That's what you want. But you want someone who keeps guys going, who keeps clapping, who keeps encouraging, who runs about between overs and just keeps those energy levels up. And Smith doesn't really do that. And that maybe just a sort of a slight reason why England's fielding and catching just wasn't quite up to scratch.
Well, I didn't have a fielding coach either. I mean, that might be something to do with it. Whether that makes a huge difference. What about the drills that you do in preparation before a series and during a series and before a day's play? Jamie Smith has been enigmatic on this trip, hasn't he? I mean, I love watching him play. I go back to Edgbaston last year, early in the summer, when he played that magnificent innings against India. First innings, 180 odd, and then also in the second innings as well. He's got so much talent. I don't want to see a player of that much talent jettisoned, but obviously he needs to improve. He needs to iron out a technical deficiency in his batting. And is he a wicket-keeper batter for the future, or can he just play as a batter? Because he's got that I suppose because he's got the gloves, he can play with a bit more freedom. But actually, you want him to play with a much more hard-headed attitude as a batter.
Yeah, and I don't think his technique is all that good. I mean, he's obviously got a fantastic eye and he plays great shots, but actually he looks vulnerable to a sort of pitched up delivery nipping.
Well, that's what I'm saying about how he needs to make.
He needs to have a tighter
technique
generally. By the way, Stokes was incredibly complimentary, almost ecstatic about the performance of Bethel. He said exceptional, outstanding, the way he dealt with the different challenges that Australia threw at him, the way he handled the pressure, the tempo of his innings, the way he sort of shifted up and down the gears, his decision making, his defence, etc. I mean, he just said that guy is sensational. That was a sensational innings and full of incredible promise. So why didn't they pick him earlier?
Well, that was going to be my next point. Is why didn't they pick him earlier? And there was that. Backing of Ollie Pope, wasn't there, after Trent Bridge when he made that 100? And I just wonder whether Ben Stokes was just pushed into a corner by his comments, backing Pope, and then he couldn't really backtrack after that. But then Bethel hadn't had much form behind him, and he's a young player and he still hadn't scored his first class 100 and all that sort of thing. Well, we finally got there, haven't we? We finally got to the situation where there's no more debate about that. And Bethel's going to fail from time to time in the future. It's inevitable, isn't it? And he might go through a difficult patch, and people will be questioning his place and questioning his ability in the way that they're questioning Jamie Smith's ability and Harry Brooks' ability and all that stuff. But these guys are very talented. That's why they were picked for this series. And that's why they've been picked as England's, actually, apart from Pope out and Bethel in, that's why they have been England's solid top 7 for the last year and a half. And they were expected to deliver here, but they haven't played smart enough. And they made too many mistakes. They made too many basic mistakes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Ricky Ponting also said. And I think he cares, actually, even though Ricky Ponting is such a dyed-in-the-wool fair dinkum Aussie. He wants to see a contest, and he was clearly disappointed by what he saw.
5 close tests with Australia winning by 5 runs in all of them.
And Glenn McGrath wasn't far off with 5-0, was he? I mean, 4-1 is... Well, not far off 5-0.
4-1's not far off 3-1 either.
No, which is
what did you say, Yoss?
I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
I thought England would win. How wrong I was. So we'll just finish with a quick comment about England's batting. So overall, 3, 4, 5, 6, provided Stokes recovers from his hip injury, which he says he needs a scan on when he gets home. But I reckon by June he'd be all right.
Hip or groin?
He's not sure. He said adductor, so I suppose
muscle,
that's sort of in the groin area. Yeah, okay. But he'll probably be okay. I mean, not a great series with the bat, by the way. Stokes averaged 18, so disappointing by his standards. Brook averaged 39, Root 44, and Bethel 51. So there are obviously only 2 tests for Bethel, but. Basically, England's 3, 4, 5, 6 set in stone. I suppose the jury's out on Crawley and Duckett. My suspicion is that Duckett will survive and Crawley won't. What do you think?
I think there's every chance of that. As an opener, you need to produce better figures, don't you, over 60 odd test matches than 32. I don't think it's good enough to say an innings here or there will progress the team forward. I think you just need a bit more consistency. So if he's able to produce that, say go back to county cricket and score lots of runs, and you'll be the premier opening batter in the country come June after playing in championship cricket, then fair enough. But I think you just I think it's only fair now to look around and see whether there are other openers who are going to be more reliable at the top of the order and basically score more runs and average a bit higher. I think that's what you need. Zach Crawley's had so many opportunities.
64 tests.
It's a lot of tests for an average of 32, isn't it? Or whatever it is, 31. It's a lot of test matches. So I think there's definitely would be a question mark over his place, and I think inevitably there's going to be a question mark over Jamie Smith's place at the moment. Although I would not, he would not be a player that I would jettison for too long in the future. I think you probably want him to go back, build his confidence, perhaps just alter his technique.
Maybe get him to keep wicket a bit.
Yeah, and also
for Surrey.
Yeah, possibly. Although he didn't actually make many mistakes behind the stumps.
No, he didn't. But you perhaps want him to just have a bit more impact on the field and be a bit more confident. I mean, if you play, the more you keep, the more happy you are in that role, and then you can find other ways of being influential in the game.
I don't think you want to jettison that sort of talent personally.
No, I agree.
I think there's a lot to work with there. However frustrating he's been out here, and however many poor shots he's played, and there was a really poor shot, and Ben Stokes alluded to it, didn't he, in his post-match comments. I think he talked about England playing 3 out of 10 cricket at times, not making really poor decisions, and I think that was sort of front and centre about the type of thing he was talking about. Everyone knows it. Like Jamie Smith doesn't know it. It's no point going on about it. What would he be like in his hotel room on his own while thinking about that shot and that dismissal? I don't know how insulated they are from all the chatter, the social media, all that sort of thing, but it must be hard to completely keep it out. So that's what you have to deal with as an international sports. But also you can have some kind of like sympathy for what they're going through, but it comes down to that whole thing, doesn't it? How much are you prepared to learn and adjust?
And that's a key point, because we know now, if we didn't know already, playing the Ashes in Australia is the toughest test. It's tough because you're playing against a country, you're playing against the press, you're playing against people kind of baiting you in the crowd of 50,000. You're playing against aggressive, hostile opponents who just want to take you down every time and will never relent until they do. And it's hot here as well, and the pitches are hard. It's very tough. So don't just kill everyone off. Actually, it's a very important learning place as well. All these guys, England guys, will be better cricketers as a result of this. And so one doesn't just want to throw that away and start afresh. They will be better cricketers, but they need to show it. So listen, we've talked about England's batting. Let's talk about their bowling after the break. This podcast is sponsored by NordVPN. Now, I'm the analyst, and I do use a lot of different sites to look at players' form and their data and their stats, as well as comment about them from various sources as well. And I've found over time that my online privacy is not very private. But with NordVPN, one of the best virtual private networks you can find, it is private, and it's a game changer, isn't it? With just one click.
Yeah, I've not long ago signed up for 2 more years with NordVPN. I use it the whole time. In fact, I have it permanently on my phone and on my computer, so you get that sort of safe feeling when you're banking. Also, as well, it can put you back in the UK for all the websites that you use in the UK for, say, online shopping or whatever, or watching sports matches. So it's a really, and or for booking travel or whatever. It's just a great way of being flexible as well as being secure.
And actually, I suppose it's almost, the way you put it, it's almost like being home from home. So our link, nordvpn.com/AIC, stands for Analyst Inside Cricket, nordvpn.com/AIC. Our link will give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan and no risk in our 30-day money-back guarantee. So check it out, nordvpn.com/AIC. So we said we'd talk about the England bowlers here. So let's just look at their records of the series. Calf, as you mentioned before, England's leading wicket taker, 22 wickets at 29.7, so close to 30. Josh Tongue, the success of the series from a bowling point of view, 18 wickets at 20, and he got Steve Smith out a couple of times at least, and he got him out with some really good balls as well. Ben Stokes, 15 wickets at 25, also excellent. Jofra Archer, a bit disappointing, only 3 tests, 9 wickets at 27. He got a few wickets and he didn't go for many runs, but he didn't have the sort of impact that was hoped.
There was 1 fifer, wasn't there, in the series?
Gus Atkinson, 6 wickets at 47, and generally the view from here, from the Australian angle, is that he just doesn't do enough with the ball. He doesn't sustain his pace and his hostility enough. But I suppose he was coming back from injury. I still think in English conditions he'll be a force. And then, well, Will Jacks, 6 wickets at 53. So as the part-time spinner, England did miss having a frontline spinner. I don't think he would have got that much of a bowl, but he would have had an impact in certain games.
He would have here. He would have definitely got a bolt here. And also you can hold an end, can't you? If you've got a frontline spinner, you can hold an end, you can rotate the seam bowlers at the other end. We talked about England's batting and where they might change, and I said to you, I thought that, they've taken Pope out already, so they've made a change there, haven't they, during the series? There's one change. I agree with you. I don't think you want to kind of rip it up and throw it all out, but you want players to be given an opportunity of really challenging county cricket, scoring a weight of runs, with the proviso that they've got to have that. You've got to feel they've got that test class in the way that England looked at Jacob Bethel and said, we really believe this guy's got test class. Yeah, I think you have to have that. I don't think you just pick the highest run score in the county championship or anything like that. So you've got to have that something that sets you apart, that makes you the next level. And that's what they tried to do. And I actually think that's kind of like the right approach. So, but Crawley's under a bit of pressure. Ben Duckett, I think, is just having a dip. He's a good player, a really good player, one of the most improved players in the world in recent years, but he has dipped off in this series. He's got to learn to leave more, hasn't he? Talk about adapting, got to learn to leave more. And then Jamie Smith, he's the sort of player you might just take out for now, but with the idea of putting him back in the future. You might just want to take him away from international cricket, as they've done with white ball. The point being, I think, is that I don't worry so much about England's batting future. It's more their bowling future that I worry about. I wonder where the good young bowlers are coming from. That Tongue has bowled really well in the series. He wasn't introduced until the latter half of the series. So how does that happen? I suppose because they had Archer and they had Atkinson
and they had Wood initially
at start. So they went with those. But I mean, Tongue has shown his worth, but he also showed his worth last summer as well. I mean, he's made an incredible start to his Test career. He's got a huge bag of wickets. That really rates very favourably with the starts of some of the top bowlers over the years in terms of early impact in his Test match career. So it's him. I mean, Bryden Cast. We talked a lot about him. He does this phrase about Bryden Cast. He does run in, and he does every single ball he bowls. It's maximum energy, isn't it? And he is England's leading wicket taker. But does he give the captain enough control?
Well, no, he doesn't.
No,
he bowls a 4-ball every over. Yeah. He bowls either a half volley or a short ball, short and wide, virtually every over, and he goes at 4 point whatever and over in this
We're
series.
At 4.8 runs per over. So as a batter, you
always
always know
nearly 5 and over.
Yeah, so you always know that
you've got a release ball.
A release ball, yeah.
And so he's got to tighten up. I think he might need to do some work on his run up, because a bowler of that ability, should be able to bowl 5 balls in the right spot and maybe one that's a bit wide or something, but he should be able to maintain a better control of length, which is the main problem, than he does. So that's something for him to work on. I've heard the name, and he hasn't really proved himself yet, because it's the Under-19 World Cup starting in about 2 weeks' time. England are competing in that, in Namibia and Zimbabwe. I've heard the name Manny Lumsden mentioned by the head coach of England Under-19, or one of the coaches, Kyle Hogg. So he's one to watch out for. Young bowlers other than him, we've had the Sonny Bakers, we've had 1 or 2 others being tried in the white ball teams. They haven't yet quite...
And in the Lions as well.
And they haven't yet quite, nailed it, have they? So I quite like Hull, actually, Josh Hull, left arm. I think he's improved quite a bit. I would like to see him maybe given a run if he takes wickets early season in English county cricket.
Yeah, I think my overall point would be, so we were just going through the bowls. Gus Atkinson has had a difficult series, actually. He's been a major disappointment. He obviously limped off with an injury as well. I thought he might bowl well out here on these pitches, but for one reason or another, it hasn't worked. From Jofra Archer, you don't know how much cricket he's going to play at Test match level. He wants to play. Obviously, if he's fit, then he does add something to England's side. But how long that's going to be? For example, is he going to be here in 4 years' time? You wouldn't think so. He might be available for the next Ashes series. And then Mark Wood,
No, I'm sorry, but Woody, fantastic character, fantastically fast bowler. His body's broken.
Yeah.
I don't see how he's going to come back. You can't rely on him.
Yeah. So there's that point. Isn't it? So I think my overall feeling is I just worry about England's future sort of bowling.
And of course, there's no spin either. There's no obvious spinner.
No spin, and I just worry about the sort of quality of pace bowl that England have got. And what you want as a captain, that you want to be able to throw the ball to someone, like get me a wicket, and have that confidence that they will do so. A bit like Pat Cummins was able to do, or Steve Smith, for the most serious with Mitchell Stark.
Scott Boland.
Boland.
Boland. I mean, people have mentioned on this podcast, thank you very much for all your comments and questions and so on. Lots of people have mentioned people like Sam Cooke. He was given one game and they cast him off. Yeah. Let's see how he goes early season in county cricket. He might well kind of have found that extra 2 miles. Now, I think the problem is, see, Scott Boland, for all his sort of tag as fast medium or medium pace, he's not. He's actually he hits the bat really hard, and he has this fantastic wrist release as well, which gets that extra bounce. He never leaves that sort of handkerchief area just around the off stump all the time, nagging away. I mean, that spell he bowled to Joe Root yesterday was a classic of its kind, where he examined Joe Root's defence microscopically, with just a ball moving this way and a ball moving that way, all on the immaculate length. Joe Root tried to get out of his crease to repel it. In the end, he found a ball which just nipped back enough, didn't bounce quite too much, was just trimming the top of the bails. Root may be a little bit unlucky to be given out OBW, but it would have hit the wicket. It was umpire's call. And he just never ever leaves that nagging kind of inquiry length. But he's 85 miles an hour. He's not 81 or 76. He keeps at you at a good pace, and he can bowl a good bouncer as well.
So my question and my concern is how many bowlers do England have, say in the Lions, and coming through to replace the likes possibly of Mark Wood and Chris Wokes and
Anderson and Broad, as well.
Anderson and Broad, but a bit further back. How many of that potential quality, real quality that they have, that Test match quality that can come here and change a game, or even change a game at home in the Ashes? I mean, they're good bowlers, but are they that next level bowler that just sets you apart as a Test match team? Of course, if you've got two of them, then that is happy days, isn't it? So that's my concern. I think is England's bowling stocks overall. Is there that quality that can take the team forward?
And one other thing, just relating to that, spin. We have to get better at utilising spin early season. I mean, Graham Swan was one who said, I had to work hard to get into the Northants team, early season. But once I was in it, they played me, throughout. And I had to learn to bowl on slightly green wickets where I didn't necessarily turn the ball, but I had a role to play. So we need to see more spinners come through, but we need to see counties and county captains having a bit more faith. Which is often hard because clearly, all they care about is points and winning matches or, getting first innings points or whatever. But they need, somehow there needs to be a general mantra to encourage spinners more. And give them more chance.
Yeah, well, and they had a big fail, didn't they, with their spin plan here. Well, their main spinner didn't play a single Test match, and I thought it was a wishful thinking project. It looked like a wishful thinking project for quite a while, and it proved to be, because they completely lost faith in Shoaib Bashir's ability to play in a Test match. He actually might have bowled pretty well out there today.
Well, they would have taken him on, wouldn't they? And they might have got away with it. They might not, but he probably would have taken a couple of wickets. I mean, the thing is, he does take wickets, but he takes them at quite a cost.
Yeah. So, look, it's not just about winning here. I mean, we're quite Ashes focused, aren't we? I suppose in the UK, that's what people sort of.
Well, it's the severest examination of English cricketers.
It is, but also they have a severe examination when they go to India as well, don't they? They don't do very well there as well.
It's a bit more nuanced, though, I think, in India. Whereas here, you almost got the extreme version of English conditions. It's hotter, the pitch is a bit quicker, there's still a little bit of seam movement. Good batting, good bowling gets rewards. Bad batting, bad bowling gets punished. Simple as that.
Yeah. What about, so that's the future of the kind of like bowling stock, just a general impression. So like, for example, someone like Sonny Baker. Now, what I hope with him is it's not like a wishful thinking project as well, that they see he's got raw pace. He played that one day international at Headingley, he got smacked everywhere, and he left the Lions tour because he was injured. What you hope is that someone like that can really tighten up, make progress, learn how to bowl, and if if you've got the raw material, then perhaps you can just channel that into being a significant bowler. So that would be the hope. But my worry is, where are the really top class, promising young bowlers?
Okay, so we've talked about the bowling. What about the coach? What about the philosophy, the underlying mentality of the team? Where do you see that going?
Well, Brendan McCullum was asked about his future today, and he said that he wants to continue. And he said, we've made mistakes and we need to learn from those mistakes. But then he was asked about, there's a sort of an idea going round that he will be allowed to continue if he's prepared to change. But he was asked about, change your philosophy, and he said, no, I basically said, no, I'm not going to change my philosophy. I have a view about how cricket should be played, Test cricket should be played, and I would stick to that. And he also said, it's not my decision about whether I continue, it's about those upstairs, which of course is always true, especially when you've had a hammering. So I think there's a feeling that they will be allowed to continue, but I think
with provisos.
With provisos, and it depends what those provisos are. If they're too stringent, then perhaps no.
Does that also apply to behaviour off the field, do you think?
Well, that's a very good question, isn't it? About how you behave off the field, how disciplined this England side is off the field, and does that have an impact, on the field? I don't know. Look, I'm lucky. I'm one of those people that doesn't have to. I don't feel the compulsion to have to drink a lot. I like drinking, but I don't have the compulsion to drink a lot. Some people seem to. Whether that's the best way to go if you're an international sportsman, I don't know. I don't think it is. I think you've got that ability. You just want to absolutely make the most of it, and I think a lot of sports people do, don't they? They're absolutely dedicated to their sport.
So you can't drown your sorrows if you've lost a Test match heavily, then?
Well,
no, you can, but in moderation.
Well, that would be me. But then, I don't want to speak for other people. Everybody else has got the right to sort of live life how they want to do. But I can't understand how, if you're an international sports player, that you would want to drink masses of alcohol. I just don't see how that fits in with being super fit, super focused, all that sort of thing.
We can hear people above who had plenty of alcohol today, can't we? Some people over there in the hospitality.
Yeah.
Probably that's why they're in the hospitality and they're not out there on the field.
You said it yourself. When you used to drink as a county cricketer, you turn out the next day worse for wear, and your body bowled a pile of what.
I once fell asleep at long leg.
Yeah.
I think I've told you.
You have, yeah.
Ian Botham was unfortunately the bowler,
and
he let me hear about it as well. Yeah, and it was because I had a late night the night before.
Yeah, and as someone who wasn't given that, the ability that you had to play cricket at the level you played, which is a very good level, just below the top level, had a good career, sort of a whole heap of wickets. I just can't understand how you would do that. No. I cannot understand it, Yoza.
No, sorry, Dad. Okay, so listen. I suppose that's it. I mean, you're off on holiday now, aren't you? Talking about relaxing after the event.
I'm off on holiday, so I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I always feel actually when the Ashes series ends in Australia, it does feel anticlimactic.
It turns you to drink, doesn't it?
But I was here when England won in Sydney in 2011. Even then, it still feels anticlimactic because you're building up to this huge thing, and then it's gone from your life. And the last thing you want to do is go from Australian summer back to English winter. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have a bit of a holiday. I'm
going to tell your wife who you're meeting on holiday in Thailand, that you feel it's a bit of an anticlimax leaving the Ashes to see her.
No, I'm not saying. That's what I'm saying. This time I'm not making that mistake.
Right.
I'm not going home. I'm going for a holiday.
No. Okay. Well, that's good. And have a lovely time. Yeah. And by the way, thank you for your eternal optimism and positivity and questions and realism often, and also your consistent punctuality, unfailing punctuality in the face of my unpunctuality.
Yeah, that's another gene that God gave you, wasn't it? The ability to be a bit loose before a county championship match, but also not to turn up on time as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen, I'm heading back to England on Saturday, actually, so that's going to be interesting. We should just finish, by the way, with a few other thank yous to our two sponsors, to Betfair and to TNT Sports. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support of this podcast. And also thank you to all our listeners and watchers for their comments and questions. One of whom says, to finish, what has been your favourite ground or city in Australia? And I'm going to answer that by saying I haven't got a favourite, actually. My favourite stadium or ground would be Adelaide. My favourite city is definitely Sydney, because there's so much to do and it's sort of like London with heat and beaches. Perth for the weather, because Sydney's weather is a bit temperamental, whereas Perth is pretty consistent. And Brisbane for its coffee and its almond croissants. What about you?
Almond croissants and coffee in Brisbane.
Very outstanding.
Oh, I must have missed out on those. I would say, I think the interesting thing about Australia, the 5 Australian cities, they're all very different. So I think that's what makes it fascinating, actually. It's not like quite being in the same country, even though you are in the same country, if that makes sense. They all have a different character, hugely different character, and a different look, a different feel. I suppose the question would be, if I had to choose an Australian city to live in, which one would it be? It's a tough question, because I think Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane are all quite alluring places. I think Adelaide would be my 4th choice probably, and Perth my 5th choice. Not that I didn't enjoy going there. It's a tough choice between Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. I might just go Brisbane for the weather.
Yeah, which has, when we were there, was very good. Quite like the scooting, actually, around Brisbane as well. You got me into that, and it was a nice, easy way to get around. You need to wear a helmet.
As long as you wore your helmet.
England, please note. That was another one of those little trip-ups. So anyway, I mean, it's been a thrilling thing to do, obviously disappointing from a results point of view, but you can't really fault being out in Australia for 6 or 7 weeks in the height of summer here and the depths of winter in England.
Absolutely, and that's why so many people come out. So I think they come out hoping, don't they? Not expecting. They come out hoping, but they also know that just off the field, it's a great crack to be out here in Australia. It's great fun. The weather's nice. People are friendly, aren't they? Oh, we sound like we're doing an advert now for the Australian Tourist Board.
Well, we do.
But what England need to do is find a way of winning out here, Yoz.
And then the Barmy Army really would be in full song. And a credit to them at the end as well. In fact, the players went and thanked them at the end in that stand over there, and the Barmy Army sort of cheered back and so on. We'll finish this podcast with the Barmy Army rendition of Jerusalem, because they have been unstinting in their support. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, they have. But also lots of other England supporters come out here, not just part of the Barmy Army as well, so we should make that point. There's thousands of others that come independently or with other
When I say Barmy Army, I'm sort of lumping it as England fans.
They don't always like that.
Some of them don't want to be identified with them, but they do an amazing job, actually. And Simon Finch, the trumpeter, is a ball of energy. It's a kind of energy that probably England need as a wicket-keeper. Well, we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's it for now. We'll be back soon with more podcasts and more cricket conversation. In the meantime, thank you very much to everyone for watching and listening.
Good day and goodbye.